today we want to talk about digestibility because this is a pretty important thing to consider when you're choosing any food for your pet. So really important to know what you're looking at when you're reading labels on any kind of product that you're going to feed. So we're going to talk about biological value and digestibility of the foods that we feed our pets. So how to identify proteins with a low biological value. So less expensive foods are going to have ingredients like plant gluten or protein. For example, corn gluten meal, which is now corn protein meal, because AFCO just changed that. So you'll see changes on labels. Or soy protein. Those are ingredients that are added cheaply to boost the protein content and provide calories, but it's not what our pets are meant to eat. Second, we want to look for added amino acids. If the food has a low biologic value, essential amino acids are going to be added back in because there's not enough being provided by the food itself. So look for things like lysine, methionine, cysteine, and taurine on the label. They're the ones most often added. And third, look for egg product on the label. It's an inexpensive way to add missing amino acids if there's not enough meat protein there. Okay, let's see. So when it comes to our pet's diet, digestibility is key. The term digestibility refers to how easily and completely a food or ingredient can be broken down and absorbed by the body. In other words, digestibility is a measure of how well a food or ingredient can be used by the body. AFCO gives us a really, wonky definition. It's the amount of endogenous fecal output and the apparent absorption of nutrients from a test diet. So they feed a certain amount of diet and then they measure how much poop comes out the other end. There are many factors that can affect the digestibility of a food or ingredient. We're going to go through some, including the type of food, the cooking method, and the individual pet's digestive system. But there are some general guidelines that can help you choose a more digestible diet. So animal-based proteins are more readily digested than some plant-based proteins. The diet type can also impact digestibility. A raw diet is typically more digestible than a kibble diet because it contains less processed ingredients. We're going to come back to that. And the quality of the ingredients is probably the most important factor. High quality, easily digestible ingredients will result in a more digestible food. Only makes sense. Okay, I'm back over here. I've got pages going back and forth. All right, so proteins can be denatured with cooking and processing, which means their structure changes. A good example, think of a boiled egg. A raw egg white is clear and runny. A cooked egg white is white and firm, and that's due to denaturing of the proteins. Denatured proteins are less digestible. As a general rule, raw diets are about 95 to 100% digestible, while dry foods average 75% digestibility. We'll talk about that some more later. Trials in rats showed that digestibility is better if the protein is from whole foods with the entire array of amino acids compared to foods with amino acids added in individually. It's hard to trick Mother Nature with added amino acids. So then the other thing that we want to look at is the biological value of how many amino acids a protein provides. The more amino acids, the more beneficial the protein. So this is a really interesting breakdown. Biological value of an egg is 100. So it's got all the amino acids that we need. Milk is 93%. Next we go to chicken, which is a 79. Fish is a 76. Beef is a 75. And we go down from there. Things like beans and lentils are around 50. So the digestibility and biological value when we get down into that plant material for our pets is much lower. Okay. Let's see where we go now. Okay. All right. So dog food ingredients with the highest digestibility are egg whites, muscle meat, meats from internal organs, and dairy products. So this is really interesting. So ingredients with low digestibility include cereal grains such as wheat, corn, and oats. But their digestibility is improved with processing. So meat digestibility is going to get worse with processing. Vegetable and grain matter will improve with processing. And interestingly, reduced kibble size improves digestibility. And yesterday we were talking about that large kibble size for, if we want to get any value out of kibble for the teeth, we have to have a really large kibble size with a big matrix in it. But it's not really digestible. So we're just basically giving them something to crunch on, not improving their nutrition. Let's see, protein digestibility. Excessive cooking or processing of food can have the adverse effect of reducing one or more nutrients' digestibility. Inclusion of ingredients such as soybean products, cereal, and plant byproducts have been proven to reduce digestibility. One study found that adding dietary fiber reduces the digestibility of dry matter and organic matter by 2 to 20%. Fiber levels up to 7.5% on a dry matter basis were acceptable in dog food before it starts having adverse effects on the digestion. We'll talk about what those are. So puppies and kittens have a shorter and more acidic digestive tract than adults, and it's because their digestive system isn't fully developed yet. As a result, they're not able to digest food as well as adults. They have higher metabolic rates than adults, which means they need more nutrients for proper growth and development. The best way to ensure they get all the nutrients is to feed high-quality food that is highly digestible. And they also need to eat more often, 3 to 4 times a day until about 6 months old. Digestibility scores for ingredients such as protein have been found to be lower by up to 5% in young animals, but they catch up by the 6th month. Okay. All right. A highly digestible diet has many benefits, including reduced digestive problems. A highly digestible diet can help to reduce digestive problems such as diarrhea, constipation, and gas. Increase nutrient absorption. A highly digestible diet can help increase nutrient absorption because the nutrients in a highly digestible food are more easily absorbed by the body. Improved weight management. A highly digestible diet can help with weight management because highly digestible food contains more calories that are available for use by the body. We'll talk about more. And reduced environmental impact. For those who are saying we have to feed plants to our pets to save the planet, I don't agree. A highly digestible diet can have a positive impact on the environment because less waste is produced when the pet digests a highly digestible food. So sources of highly digestible ingredients include meat. Meat is a highly concentrated form of protein that is readily digestible by cats and dogs. Animal-based proteins such as chicken and beef are more readily digestible than plant-based proteins. Raw diets are more digestible than kibble diets because they contain less processed ingredients. High-quality ingredients, such as those that are organic or free-range, are more likely to be digestible than low-quality ingredients. Factors that can reduce the digestibility of a pet food. Processing can reduce digestibility by denaturing proteins and breaking down plant cell walls. Additives such as fillers and preservatives can reduce digestibility. Poor quality ingredients such as those that are cheaper or lower in nutritional value are less likely to be digestible. Inadequate cooking can reduce the digestibility of a pet food that contains a lot of plant material. Some nutrients such as vitamins and minerals are heat sensitive and can be damaged by cooking. So the consequences of feeding an undigestible diet can include gastrointestinal problems. Feeding an undigestible diet can cause diarrhea, vomiting, and nausea. How much IBD do we see? Nutritional deficiencies. An undigestible diet can lead to nutritional deficiencies as the nutrients in the food are not available to be absorbed by the body. An undigestible diet can cause weight gain as the calories in the food are not able to be used by the body. An undigestible diet can have a negative impact on the environment as more waste is produced when a dog digests an undigestible food. So if you notice that your pet is not digesting food properly, because they're having diarrhea, you're seeing undigested food, grains, whatever, plant material in the stool. Try switching to a raw or gently cooked food. So the difference between a gently cooked and like a dry kibble is produced at kibble that's made with the extrusion process is a very, very, very high heat. So it denatures everything and destroys vitamin and mineral content. So it destroys the amino acids. But a gently cooked food is generally at a lower temperature with some steam, so it's totally different. So try switching to a raw or gently cooked food if the pet has been using dry kibble. Raw or gently cooked food is more palatable and easier to digest than dry food. It has a higher water content, which makes it easier for the food to move through the digestive system. And it's also made up of more protein and fat with few carbohydrates. Dry food is made up of less water content and your pet may not easily digest it. It has more fillers, is low in moisture, which makes the food harder to break down and can lead to digestive problems. Egg whites are highly digestible and contain all the essential amino acids that your pet needs, so that's one of the most digestible foods. Meat from internal organs and muscles is generally very digestible. Raw fruits and vegetables are good sources of vitamins, minerals, and fiber and are usually easily digestible. And if you're using grains at all, they must be cooked in order to be digestible, and usually well cooked. So another factor to consider when determining digestibility is the amount of dietary fiber present in the food. Some fiber is essential for proper digestive function, but too much can decrease digestibility. So several things you can do to ensure your pet's food is digestible. Choose high quality food. Select one that is made with high quality, easily digestible ingredients. Avoid processed foods because they're less digestible. Add fiber gradually if you're adding some fiber in to allow their digestive system to adjust. Like I said, we need a little bit of fiber for the bacteria in the gut that's their food source, that's your prebiotic, so we need a little bit of that. Make sure the food is cooked properly if you are going to cook, because cooking can damage nutrients. So you want to preserve digestibility. For dogs or animals with sensitive stomachs or those prone to gastrointestinal problems, the digestibility score is an important factor to consider when choosing the food. It's also important to consider factors such as the quality of ingredients and the amount of fiber in the food. So digestibility refers to the amount of nutrients that are able to be absorbed by the body. A food that is highly digestible will be easier on the digestive system and provide more nutrients than a less digestible food. So symptoms that may indicate your pet's food is not digestible for them: diarrhea. And they're not absorbing all the nutrients from the food if they have diarrhea. Weight loss. If they're not digesting their food properly, they may lose weight even if they're eating the same amount as before. So that was, somebody said something about EPI dogs. They're not absorbing their nutrients at all. That's why you get that icky diarrhea. Lack of energy. If a pet is not digesting their food properly, they may seem lethargic or have lack of energy. Vomiting, like diarrhea, can be a sign that the body is not able to absorb all of the nutrients from the food. So the digestibility of food is an important factor to consider when choosing the food for your pet. By considering the quality of ingredients, the amount of fiber, and the digestibility score, you can be sure to choose a food that is easy to digest. So I think we have pretty clear indications that feeding animals a species-appropriate diet, which for dogs and cats is going to be a high-meat diet, which is very digestible. So somebody says the cost is prohibitive for giant breed dogs. We have a lot of people who have or breed large breed dogs who have found that they actually can do raw diets less expensively. What you need to do is you need to find co-ops. For instance, Hugh's daughter lives in Delaware, and they don't have a ton of money to spend on dog food, but they have now they have one. They lost one, but large breed shepherds, just huge dogs. And they feed raw diets to those dogs. And what they did was they found friends who are hunters, and the hunters drop off um, all the parts and pieces of the deer that they don't eat themselves. So the tongue, the liver, the kidneys, the stomach, which is tripe. So any parts that they're not going to use, they give to Hugh's daughter. So you have to be creative sometimes. Kimberly Goutier from Keep the Tail Wagging, in her blog, she has one that she wrote where she asks people around the country where they source their meats and their organs from, and so she found a lot of co-ops. She has a list, and I think there's stuff pretty much in every state. It's a great list, but if you can find things like that, it can be really, really helpful to keep your costs down. Your dog killed a rat last night, ate half, and you're worried about all the worst case scenarios. Probably I'd worry about lepto as much as anything else with a rat. So your veterinarian did not recommend a raw diet. Of course they don't. There's you gotta get Dr. Connor Brady's book, Feeding Dogs, and he debunks all the silliness that goes around in the pet food, FDA, and veterinary world about all the scares and horrors of raw food. I've been a raw food feeder for my animals for 20 years, and we have never had an issue from handling raw food or from them eating raw food. So, okay, yeah, the whole salmonella thing is just stupid. So, yeah, and gently cooking food is not going to ruin it. It just depends how it is cooked. And be a little bit careful, because a lot of the gently cooked foods that are available on the market, direct to consumer or even in stores, have a high carbohydrate content. The gently cooking is good, but it depends on your individual pet, how much carb load they can handle. So, part of what you can look at is just look at the stools. Are the stools small and firm and well formed, or are you getting sloppy stools? Do you have big bulky stools? How many times a day does your animal have stools? A healthy dog or cat eating a really good, highly digestible diet, I think it's average of like 1.25 stools per day. So it's low, and that's a huge difference between when you look at dogs who are eating or cats who are eating dry kibble diets that have a lot of fillers, a lot of fiber, a lot of plant material in them. You get these big bulky stools, and just a huge difference.